Hey, it's good to be with everybody. I'm Phillip Miles, chairman of Evangel Fellowship International, and I'm happy to do this with Jordan Battani in Macon, Georgia. We're going to talk about our recent international conference in Guatemala City. We're able to have pastors from Nicaragua, Guatemala, and Mexico, and some pastors from the United States came as well. It's something we've been wanting to do, been dreaming about doing. It seems like it was always a little bit cost prohibitive, but we're fortunate we had a family that decided to sponsor the major part of this, and so we're able to pull it off. So, Jordan, kind of what was your take on the whole experience? I know this was your first time with EFI, but you've been to Guatemala before.
Yeah, it was great to be back in the country. Guatemala's a beautiful, beautiful place, and it was a really great setting. I think everybody to be able to come together. I felt like the conference went really well. As far as first time, a lot of questions when you're going into a place and trying to bring people from other countries in, and a lot of coordinating. But the team there on the ground did a phenomenal job, just coordinating. Inmer and Katia were working behind the scenes to get everything in line, and so, but really, when you bring a group of people together, you never know. You have hopes for what could happen. But it was one of those, once they got together, it's everything what EFI is about, the relational connection. And it was just beautiful to see those relationships beginning to really flourish just in our short time together, and see, really being able to encourage one another, and also to hear what God's doing through that region.
I'm glad you mentioned Emmer and Katia because without them, we really would not have a presence there. And they do so much work. First of all, locally, and Emmer was over like 5 churches, but then uh, there in Latin America and Mexico and Central America, he has really, really made a difference, and I greatly appreciate their efforts. One of the things that I feel like is so important is being able to go and renew a personal contact with these pastors. Some of them uh, I haven't seen, for a couple of years, but I've had like a 13-year relationship with. And so we've been through a lot together, the
Mm-hmm.
death of the founding pastor that really put us all together. And that was a very traumatic thing. But then seeing people come together, I wanted to get your take on what you felt like this did for them, what you could see just in our time together. Because, I mean, realize for some of these guys, they've never met some of the others there.
Yeah.
And I was pretty impressed.
No, I was really impressed as well. That's part of, I think Inmer had been getting them together online, but this is our first time for many of them seeing each other in person, and many of them meeting together. But really, I felt like it was an encouragement to them. So much of what they're going through is a lot what we're going through as local pastors here in the States. They're trying to work against a countering culture and present the truth of the gospel, right? And so there are people issues that are happening, and all those, they're contextualized to where they are, but it's the same thing that we're going through as pastors. And it's great to have somebody come alongside to just encourage you. I think one of my favorite moments that we had with the pastors was that first roundtable that we were able to do our opening night. We just had everybody go around and share what's one thing they're just excited about, what God's doing in their community, in their church. And so they got to everyone got to hear what God is doing throughout the region. And then we closed out the night giving them an opportunity to share what is one major challenge that you're going through. And it was just a beautiful moment, because then you had each pastor share, and then the pastor next to him led a prayer over them. And I think that did more for them, just hearing, hey, I got another pastor behind me praying for me. And when we start carrying each other's needs like that, the whole room just opened up, and it was just a beautiful time together.
Yeah, I didn't even think about how powerful that moment was. But honestly, really, I really wonder if God did as much during that moment as he did the whole time I was talking or whatever, preaching. The
Yeah,
Holy
same here.
Spirit, I mean, there was some real work of the Holy, like you were talking about. There was some real Holy Spirit activity taking place when these pastors opened up. I think, to each other, and that's one of the values. I really hope we can do this again, and I hope our EFI family will see the need and get behind it. And I think that's one of the beauties that Del Campfield is experiencing in Africa, and
Mhm.
it really is, the personal connection and building family. I think is such a big part of what's going on. The face to face interaction, uh, there is seemingly a lot more accomplished in the impartation than necessarily the information that we give.
Mhm.
I don't know how you felt, but it seemed like everyone there really embraced you.
Yeah, I was writing down just some reflections on that, and I felt there was just a beautiful openness of the pastors, not only to learn but to connect, and they, they were engaged with the material, but they were more so were engaging one another and really taking to heart what God was, how God was speaking to them. I was just impressed by their love for their communities. Some of them, they're facing insurmountable obstacles right now, especially in Nicaragua and some of these other more hard-hit communities. But they feel like God has called them to their community, and they're hungry to learn how can we better impact these communities. And so they were just very open. There's a hunger in them to learn and to grow. But again, I just loved hearing many of their stories of what they're already doing to reach their communities. Anacito and Laura, they're our newest members that we got to bring in during the conference. But God's using them in incredible ways. I mean, they've got 5 kitchens. They're feeding hundreds of kids a week. And, everything that we're teaching, they're already embodying. And so it's just, it affirms them in what they're doing and gives them strength to continue.
Did anything else in particular kind of stand out as far as your connections with these pastors and the way they came across?
What I walked away from was a feeling that I've grown more family through this, that there really was authentic connections that were taking place. Because you rub shoulders with people during conferences, then you go home and you go about your life. But what I've loved, even just since then, I've been able to stay in contact with a few of the pastors that we met. They've messaged me, and one of those moments, I felt like the Lord gave me just a word for one of the pastors, and they've reached out to me this week and say, hey, that word that God gave you we're already beginning to see that come through. And so it's just amazing, those moments when we're obedient, we step in and allow God to speak. And that was an organic moment, that whole
Yeah.
3 days that we were there, right? We had a plan, but we just went where the Spirit was leading. And those moments created the biggest fruit from what we did.
I tell you something else too. That time of worship, I'm telling you what, that I needed it. It ministered to me, and to see
Yeah.
their passion for God was just very powerful. And I want to say thank you so much for going, Jordan. And I'm praying the Lord will allow us to go back and do this again. These are good pastors, and I really want to be a support to Inmer and Conti as well.
Yeah, same here. And it was just a tremendous honor for me to get to be a part of this and to come alongside and encourage them and really grow in connection with them. So, but thank you. Thank you for the invitation
Amen.
for that.